Hare Krishna, devotees and Vatanam, Krishna Prabhupada, thank you for Prabhuji, Krishna Prabhuji, Lakshmi for leading the chanting today. Hare Krishna. Let's start it. Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyat Deshatarine. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll continue with our prayer of this week as we are on the verge of celebrating our third annual Jagannath Yatra. So anybody would like to sing Jagannath Ashtakam today?
I can sing, Prabhuji. I will try, Prabhuji.
Posted the link in the chat. Shama Karuna Mataji, would you like to?
Yes, Prabhuji. Can you hear me?
Sorry, Mataji.
Can you hear me, Prabhuji?
Oh, yes, now I can hear Mataji. Yes, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. कदाचित् कालिन्दी तट विपिन्न सङ्गीत करावो मुदाभिरीनारी वदन कमल स्वादमधुपा रमा शम्भु ब्रह्मा मरपति गणेशाच्युतपादो जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे भुजे सव्ये वेणुं शिरसि सिकिपिच्चं कटितटे दुकूलं नेत्रान्ते सहचरकटाक्षं विदधाते सदा श्रीमद्वृन्दावनवसति लीला परिचायो जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे महाम्बोधे स्थिरे कनकरुचिरे नील शिकारे वसान् प्रसादन्त सहज बलभद्रेण बलिना सुभद्रमध्यस्था सकलसुरसेवा वसरादो जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे कृपा परवार सजल जलद शेनिरुचिरो रमावणि रामा स्फुरदमला पङ्केरुह मुखा सुरेन्द्रै आराध्या श्रुतिगणशिखा गीतचरितो जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे रथारूढो गच्छन् पथिमिलितभूदेव पतालै स्तुतिप्रधुर्भावं प्रतिपदम् उपाकर्ण्य सदायै दया सिन्धुर्बन्धु सकल जगतां सिन्धुसुताय जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे परब्रह्म पीडा कुवलय दलोत्पुल्ल नयनो निवासी नीलाद्रौ निहित चरणोऽनन्त शिरसि रसानन्दो राधा सरसवपुरालिङ्गन सुको जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे न वै यचे राज्यं न च कनकमाणिक्यविभावम् न याचेऽहं रम्यं सकलजनकाम्यं वरवाधुं सदा काले काले प्रमथपतिना गीतचरितो जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे हरत्वं संसारं द्रुततरमासारं सुरपते हरत्वं पापानं विततिम् अपारं यादवपते अहो दिनेनाते निहितचरणो निश्चितमिदम् जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे जगन्नाथाष्टकं पुण्यं यः पठे प्रयतत्सुचि सर्वपापा विशुद्धात्मा विष्णुलोकं स गच्छति हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे जगन्नाथ अष्टकम की जय हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी थैंक यू
Nicely said.
महाराज शंकराचार्य की जय, शंकरपाठ की जय, क्षमा करना माता जी की जय. Okay, translation. Anybody would like to read?
Yeah, I will continue.
Yeah, go ahead, Naren Prabhu.
Just a minute. Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Jai Jagannath. Sometimes in great happiness, Lord Jagannatha makes a loud concert with his flute in the groves on the banks of the Yamuna. He is like a bumblebee testing the beautiful lotus-like faces of the cowherd damsels of Braja and great personalities such as Lakshmi, Shiva, Brahma, Indra, and Ganesha worship his lotus feet. May that Jagannath Swami be the object of my vision. In his left hand, Lord Jagannatha holds a flute. On his head, he wears peacock feathers, and on his hips, he wears fine yellow silken cloth. From the corners of his eyes, he bestows sidelong glances upon his loving devotees, and he always reveals himself through his pastime in his divine abode of Vrindavan. May that Jagannatha Swami be the object of my vision. On the shore of the great ocean, within a large palace atop the brilliant golden Nilachal hill, Lord Jagannatha resides with his powerful brother Balabhadra and his sister Subhadra, who sits between them. May that Jagannatha Swami, who bestows the opportunity for devotional service upon all godly souls, be the object of my vision. Lord Jagannatha is an ocean of mercy and as beautiful as a row of blackish rain clouds. He is the storehouse of bliss of Lakshmi and Saraswati, and his face resembles a spotless, full-blown lotus. The best of demigods and the sages worship him, and the Upanishads sing his glories. May that Jagannatha Swami be the object of my vision. When Lord Jagannatha moves along the road on his Rath Yatra car, at every step large assemblies of Brahmanas loudly chant prayers and sing songs of his pleasure. Hearing their hymns, Lord Jagannath becomes very favorably disposed toward them. He is the ocean of mercy and the true friend of all the worlds. May that Jagannath Swami, along with his consort Lakshmi, who was born from the ocean of nectar, be the object of my vision. Lord Jagannath, whose eyes resemble full-blown lotus petals, is the ornament of Lord Brahma's head. He resides on Nilachal hill with his lotus feet placed on the heads of Anantadeva. Overwhelmed by the mellows of love, he joyfully embraces Srimati Radharani's body, which is like a cool pond. May that Jagannath Swami be the object of my vision. I do not pray for a kingdom, nor do I pray for gold, rupees, or wealth. I do not ask for a beautiful wife as a scraper. as desired by all men. I simply pray that Jagannath Swami, whose glory Lord Shiva always sings, may be a constant object of my vision. O Lord of the demigods, please quickly remove this useless material existence I am undergoing. O Lord of the Yadus, please destroy the vast, shortless ocean of the sins. Alas, this is the certain Lord Jagannath bestows his lotus feet upon those who feel themselves fallen and have no shelter in his world but him. May that Jagannath Swami be the object of my vision. Self-restrained, the self-retrained virtual soul who recites these 8 verses glorifying Lord Jagannath becomes cleansed of all sins and duly proceeds to Lord Vishnu's abode.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Jai Jagannath Swami.
Jai Jagannath. And Prabhu ki Jai. Yeah, this is actually restrained only, Prabhu. You read correctly first time. It's the typo
Oh,
here. Restrained means like, yeah, who's self-controlled, basically. Self-controlled, virtuous soul.
right.
Yes.
Self-restraint, yeah.
So here we saw Lord Jagannath resides the shore
Nicely
of the
sung by
ocean near the Neelachal hill, and connecting it to what Prabhupada was doing yesterday. Prabhupada was also residing on the shore, right? Yesterday we were reading Vishakhapatnam. Prabhupada was traveling again from city to city. He was on the shore of the ocean in Vizag, Vishakhapatnam, and they were having loud kirtan, prasadam distribution, japa walks, morning walks. So again, like Prabhupada was saying, a devotee is always surrounded by Krishna everywhere. And we also saw references of Boston. And like we were saying a couple of days ago, Prabhupada came actually tomorrow, Wednesday, by date is his arrival on 60th anniversary, but by Tithi it was over the weekend. And good to see Vishwanath Prabhu is back. Thank you, Vishwanath Prabhu, for sharing all the wonderful darshans of Boston for this wonderful occasion that we celebrated. And also Boston, we read about how Prabhupada was named Prabhupada in Boston by his loving disciples. And Prabhupada is a honorary term given to the greatest of the saints among the saints. Right? Like we are reading here, Rupa Goswami, actually Rupa Goswami is called Prabhupada. It's a suffix given to acharyas, which literally means that they are surrendered or they always reside eternally at the lotus feet of Prabhu Sri Krishna. So one who is at the pada means the feet of the Lord is Prabhupada. And that is the honorary title given to the greatest amongst the saints. So like Srila Rupa Goswami, like Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, like similarly Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. So that is how his name was given, and it was given in Boston. So again, nice correlation, nice coincidence that we are reading about Boston and we are celebrating about Boston. And also grateful to have Bhavgray Govind Prabhu joining the call. He has one of the first Bhagavatams that Prabhupada carried on his ship, Jaladuta. And when he landed in Boston, where he was given the name Prabhupada, and we also have his presence on the call. Thank you, Prabhuji, for joining. Okay, so let's continue. Prabhupada has moved from Vishakhapatnam now. He has come to Mayapur, and they are organizing this wonderful festival celebration, preparing for Gaur Purnima. We are celebrating Jagannath Ashtakam, Jagannath Rath Yatra, and the Ishtadev of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Jagannathji. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also gave an appearance yesterday because Prabhupada said he traveled to all those South India. And he traveled to that place where Prabhupada went to see the Narasimha deities, Lord Narasimha deities, and he was taking, of course, blessings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Narasimha Dev, who was fully covered in sandalwood for a cool, for the deities to be cool. And also we saw how Prabhupada was cooling his disciples with the nice nariyal that he was giving, and that nariyal was never ending, the nariyal juice or nariyal water. Okay, so like that, let's continue here. From everyone concerned had been happy about the title Prabhupada, and no one had foreseen the envy the name would uncover. How could Prabhupada compete for the honor due his own spiritual master? He was fixed as the humble servant of his spiritual master. The members of ISKCON saw no harm in calling their spiritual master Prabhupada, and there could be no stopping them as he was their Prabhupada. They had even printed A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada on their invitations for the Gaur Purnima festival. But Prabhupada knew it would raise the eyebrows of certain of his more critical god brothers. When inspecting the living accommodations for the devotees, Prabhupada found spacious white canvas tents, one for the men and one for the women, with fluorescent lighting inside. A large pandal tent stood in the center of the other tents, and a small tent in the rear served as a kitchen. Immediately surrounding the small compound were rice fields. The ground therefore was slightly moist, and the wet fields bred large mosquitoes, which emerged at sunset. Conditions were primitive, but many of these devotees were the same disciples who had traveled with Prabhupada for a year and a half in India, sometimes living in dirty dharmshalas with bare rooms, and sometimes living in cold tents in Allahabad. The devotees had not come to Mayapur to be comfortable, but to serve Prabhupada. In future years, by the result of their efforts, many devotees would be able to gather comfortably in Mayapur in the spacious buildings Prabhupada was planning. Well aware that Westerners were unaccustomed to the austerities of living in India, Prabhupada wanted to provide facilities so his disciples could feel comfortable and be able to focus their stay in India on spiritual life without distracting inconveniences. Therefore, he was pushing them to help in various ways to establish a Mayapur building with running water, electricity, and other conveniences. Prabhupada's dwelling was a simple, thatched Bengali hut, about 12 feet square with a dirt floor. A thin partition divided the main room from the servants' quarters. In front was a small veranda, and in back a garden, where Prabhupada could sit and take massage. Also in back were a hand pump for bathing and an outhouse. When the devotees apologized for offering Prabhupada such a humble residence, he replied that he liked the natural simplicity. Even if you build me the biggest palace, he said, still, I would prefer to live here. While living so simply in Mayapur, Prabhupada spoke of his vision of a grand project yet to come. Although the deities of Radha Madhav, whom he had worshipped at the 1971 Ardha Kumbh Mela in Allahabad, were installed in a tent, he spoke of a marble palace. He also spoke of first-class accommodations for guests and devotees, although as yet he had little to offer. Living simply and happily in his thatched hut, he gathered his disciples together and told them of his plans. At his request, devotees had built a small model of the proposed first major building, and there were also drawings of the proposed temple of human understanding. He wanted to build a Mayapur city, he said, with quarters for each of the 4 social classes of the Varnashrama institution. Tatpara. When Prabhupada would go to the Western countries, he would be interviewed by many great persons. But when he came to Mayapur, he was talking so friendly, sometimes taking juice or giving instructions, and he lived simple like a villager. The Western devotees think sometimes of Prabhupada in one Leela only, like a great king. But when he comes to India, he is like another person. He was laughing and talking like a friend. Bhavananda. In his straw house, Prabhupada sat on a bamboo platform. There was a bed and some mats on the floor. That was all. He was happier there than anywhere. We put a fan in there too, and Prabhupada liked it. He liked it because it was so simple. There was an outhouse, but he didn't mind it at all. He was relishing everything. At the time, he made Jay Pataka and me co-directors of Mayapur. He made 4 signers on the checking account for the building constructions. In India, just to open up an account is very difficult. We were seeing that part of Prabhupada where he was very strict because he knows the difficulties you can run into. If you don't fill out the proper forms, the bank can even keep your money. Or you may want to close your account and they don't let you. Our mood was played out. We were babies. So Prabhupada was training us in keeping accounts and management. Jananivas. The first time Prabhupada came to see the deities, he said, "Who is dressing the deities?" Someone said Jananivas. The deities were just standing on a tile platform with no decoration. They were just standing there, but Prabhupada looked on them so lovingly. He used to come and take darshan every day. One time he came to the deity room and I wasn't there. There were some Indian people taking darshan, and I had gone to get them a Back to Godhead magazine from a room about 10 feet away. When I came back, Prabhupada was there. He was also taking darshana, but he said, "You should always be standing here. People are coming, but no one is here." I said, "Srila Prabhupada, I just went to get a Back to Godhead. It is only 10 feet away." But he looked at me as if to say, "You are defending yourself again, making excuses." Then he told Bhavananda, "This boy, Jananivas, should have some help. He can't do everything. He is an ordinary person." The 5-day Gaur Purnima festival featured 24-hour kirtan with groups of devotees chanting in 2-hour shifts. Each morning, the main body of devotees would form a kirtan procession and go out visiting Navadvip's holy sites. the neem tree under which Lord Chaitanya was born, the house of Srinivas Acharya, where Lord Chaitanya and his associates had performed nocturnal kirtan, the spot where the Qazi had tried to stop Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan, the residence of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Often Bhaktivinoda Thakur had stood in front of his house, of this house, Prabhupada told the devotees, and looked out across the Jalangi toward where Srila Prabhupada now had his hand. Throughout the day and especially now had his land. Throughout the day and especially in the evenings, the devotees would gather on the stage of the orange-striped pandal, while Radha Madhav stood at stage center within a traditional Bengali simhasan of carved banana stalks covered with colored foil and flower garlands. Prabhupada would have his disciples do most of the public speaking, with Achyutananda Swami lecturing in Bengali as the main speaker. Hundreds of people came and went in a steady stream, and the devotees distributed Bengali, English, and Hindi back to Godhead magazines. In the evenings, they would present a slideshow or a film. Prabhupada was especially pleased to watch the prasadam distribution from his window. Hundreds of villagers squatting in long rows, eating khichdi from round leaf plates. Continue this forever, Prabhupada told his disciples. Always distribute prasadam. Even without a building, Prabhupada's preaching in Mayapur was significant, while other nearby mathas were also observing Gaur Purnima, mostly by hosting Calcutta widows who paid a fee to live a few days in the temple and visit the holy places in Navadvip. Prabhupada's Pandal program was the most vigorous celebration and drew the most visitors. The birthplace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prabhupada said, had no meaning without preaching. Except for this time of the year, very few people visited Mayapur. Which is more important, Prabhupada asked, Lord Chaitanya's birthplace or his activities? It is his activities, his karma. His activities are more important than his janma or place of birth. The activities of Lord Chaitanya were chanting Hare Krishna and distributing love of Godhead to all people. And this should be the activity of devotees in Mayapur. On Gaur Purnima Day, 10 of Prabhupada's sannyasi godbrothers visited to participate along with Prabhupada's disciples and hundreds of visitors in the dedication and cornerstone laying ceremony. Prabhupada was gracious and friendly toward his godbrothers, and he was gratified that they could all sit together to dedicate the world headquarters of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Sitting on a cushion next to the sacrificial arena, chanting on japa beads, Prabhupada initiated 6 Bengali devotees and awarded the sannyasa order to a young American disciple. Then Prabhupada's godbrothers spoke, each expressing appreciation of Prabhupada's work in the West. Finally, they all gathered around the pit, 5 feet square and 15 feet deep. Certain articles had been collected to be placed inside the pit in accordance with the scriptures. 5 kinds of flowers, 5 kinds of grains, 5 kinds of leaves, 5 kinds of metal, 5 kinds of nectar, 5 kinds of colors, 5 kinds of fruits, and 5 kinds of jewels. Prabhupada's godbrother, Puri Maharaj, descended a ladder into the pit to put coconuts and banana leaves in a pot and to place this along with the flowers onto the altar of bricks. Next, Prabhupada entered the pit, carrying a box with a gold, ruby-eyed murti of Anantashesh. Earlier that morning in his hut, Prabhupada had confidentially shown a few disciples the murti. This is Lord Ananta, he said, the serpent bed on which Lord Vishnu rests. He will hold the temple on his head. Prabhupada now placed Anantashesha on the altar of bricks and climbed back up the ladder. Then, on Prabhupada's blissful invitation, everyone began to toss in offerings of flowers and money, followed by handfuls of earth. Although Prabhupada's godbrothers had praised his work on Gaur Purnima Day, several of them returned a few days later to complain about his use of the title Prabhupada. Prabhupada asked his disciples to leave the room. When they were alone, one of the sannyasi godbrothers began challenging Prabhupada in Bengali. Why are you using Prabhupada? You have no right. This is our Prabhupada's title. You cannot take it. I did not take it, Prabhupada replied. They are calling me Prabhupada. What can I do? Although the sannyasi godbrothers then began to criticize Prabhupada for not joining their preaching and for awarding the sacred thread and sannyas order to Westerners, mainly the godbrothers wanted an explanation for his use of the title Prabhupada. Brahmananda Maharaj, Prabhupada called. Bring me a copy of my letterhead. When Brahmananda Swami returned with the stationery, Prabhupada showed it to his godbrothers. The letterhead read, Tridandi Goswami, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami. No Prabhupada. This proved that he himself did not use the title. This simple demonstration pacified his godbrothers, and he then invited them to take prasadam with him while his disciples served. Later in his hut, Prabhupada talked with his disciples about envy. A devotee could judge his own advancement by how free he was from envy, he said. In the spiritual world, envy was conspicuous by its absence. Although all the liberated associates of Krishna were trying their best to serve Krishna, in a kind of competition, everyone was pleased with one another. If Radharani or a favorite gopi pleased Krishna, the other gopis did not think ill of her, but thought, oh, How nicely she has served Krishna. Let me also try to offer some nice service to Krishna, so he will be even more pleased. To be envious was materialistic. Prabhupada wished his godbrothers had taken a different point of view. He wished they had not minded his being called Prabhupada by his disciples. He was also sorry that some of his godbrothers couldn't sincerely praise his work. If Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was working successfully through him, why should they be disturbed? Why not accept his work and be happy that the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was being spread effectively? They should see it as Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's work, the work of their own spiritual master. It was also their work, their responsibility, and they should recognize that through Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, it was being wonderfully done. At the ceremony, they had praised his work. So if they didn't mind praising him, then why not admit that for hundreds of Westerners whom he had saved from hell, he was Prabhupada, that singular pure devotee whom they always thought of as seated at the lotus feet of Krishna. In terms of authorized books produced and distributed, numbers of devotees initiated and engaged in devotion service, and number of temples opened, no one could compare. Of course, in one sense, all of Prabhupada's godbrothers were equally praiseworthy, as long as they followed the basic instructions of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, chanted Hare Krishna, and avoided sinful life. But if analysis or criticism was to be made with much scrutiny, then let the preaching records be scrutinized. Who above all was extending the mercy of Lord Nityananda and making such tremendous gains on behalf of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati? Gains that had previously seemed impossible. According to Chaitanya Charitamrita, if a preacher could spread the chanting of Hare Krishna, then he must be accepted as empowered by God. Prabhupada was certainly empowered, yet he conducted himself very humbly, with no assistance from others. He had repeatedly invited his godbrothers to join him in the West and take their places beside him as preachers in the Krishna consciousness movement. Why had they not come forward to assist him in their spiritual master's mission? Instead of complaining about him, the one godbrother who was carrying out Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's mission. It was not the place of Prabhupada's disciples to criticize, however, and he had sternly warned them that they had no position to do so. They should treat his godbrothers as disciples of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati and therefore as on the level of their own spiritual master. Nevertheless, Prabhupada's disciples became sorry to see this lack of respect for their spiritual master. They could be humble and not protest, but how could they be affectionate toward persons who criticized their spiritual master and his Krishna consciousness movement? After the 5-day festival, Prabhupada left Mayapur for Vrindavan, where he planned to hold another groundbreaking ceremony. The Mayapur land was still completely undeveloped, and Prabhupada urged his disciples in India to continue collecting the necessary funds. We are making a very gorgeous plan at Mayapur, and if you all together can give shape to this plan, it will be unique in the whole world. It will be a world center for teaching spiritual life. Students from all over the world will come and we shall revolutionize the atheistic and communistic tendencies of rascal philosophers. So we must be responsible for this great task. Not for a single moment shall we be without ISKCON thoughts. That is my request to you all. Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll pause here. Yes, so we see Prabhupada is again reiterating the same point. Like in the service towards the Lord, there should be no envy. If somebody is making good progress and if somebody is able to serve the Lord, through their own means, whatever. Again, that's why Krishna has given so many varieties. Just like his names, there are so many varieties of services that we can do, and nobody humanly has the capability that they can do everything, each and everything, right? So there's always the mood of cooperation that Prabhupada wanted from his disciples. He said at the end, when he was leaving, that your love for me will be shown by how you cooperate with others. And even Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, I was reading an article. I was reminded of that article which he wrote when he was leaving the body in 1937, I think it was January. And His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj actually had written that article a few months ago. I was reading, but I just remembered that he also mentioned the same thing, that by my preaching, I may have created a lot of enemies. People may have been disturbed by my bold preaching, but again, the whole point is so that they can turn towards Krishna. And you all are intelligent people, his disciples. There are many like Srila Prabhupada or A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He was a learned scholar. That's why Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati told him that you should go and preach this mission in the West because you are a learned English-speaking boy. So many such disciples were there of Bhakti Siddhanta. And he told them while he was passing, he was leaving this mortal world, that you all should work together, and in a cooperative spirit, we should take this movement forward. So that was his last words and last uh, you know sense of uh, reciprocation towards his disciples. And same thing, our Srila Prabhupada, our Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada also did the same thing. Till his last breath on his deathbed in Vrindavan, he was dictating Srimad Bhagavatam, and he told his disciples to work together. So, like Prabhupada was explaining here, in spiritual world there is no envy. If somebody is doing more service, others are pleased. They're saying, "Oh, how nicely he or she is serving. Maybe I should also do like this so that Krishna will be pleased." So actually, that is the principle, that if like if we go to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's deities, for example, in Navadvip, we have to glorify Jagannathji, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to worship Jagannathji. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't like to hear his own glory. Somebody calls him God, he says, "Oh, Vishnu, Vishnu, Vishnu." He covers his ears, right? So his mood is that, you're always praising the Lord, you're praising the devotees. In front of Krishna, if you go, then you have to praise Srimati Radharani, because she is the topmost devotee. And if you go in front of Radharani, you praise Krishna, right? If you go in front of Ramji, you praise Hanumanji, because Ram Bhagwan doesn't like to hear his own glories, right? He likes to hear Hanumanji's praises. Similarly, if you go in front of Hanumanji, you praise Lord Shri Ram, because he doesn't like his own glories. So like that. So that is the mood in spiritual world. Nobody likes to hear their own glories. They always like to hear, their devotees' glories. So that should be our mood also. Like, that is the mood. If we have to go there to that world, then we have to develop that mood, that I don't want to hear my own glories, right? So if somebody praises us, again, our mood should always be that whatever we have got is all due to the mercy of our Guru, our Acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, and the Guru Parampara. So everything that we get in terms of recognition, name, fame, glories, all should be offered humbly at the lotus feet of our Guru Parampara. And that should be the mode, that we should try to hear the glories of our Acharyas, not our own glories. And with that mode is when we will actually qualify ourselves to go back from this material world to the spiritual world. So like that. Yeah. Like Prabhupada, again, like we were saying yesterday, he came so poor, and I was also actually yesterday only I came across a video of His Holiness Jai Pataka Maharaj. So today we read about Jai Pataka Maharaj, Jananivas Maharaj. They all came to, or not they all, but at least Jananivas Prabhu, he came to Cincinnati a couple of years ago, if you remember, right? So they were building this Mayapur temple. So now we are reading about the cornerstone laying ceremony, but the temple construction has been going on. They had come for fund raising for the temple a couple of years ago for the Narasimha wing. So that was already completed last year or earlier this year. And so Jananivas Prabhu and Jai Pataka Maharaj was saying actually in that video that, some Indian businessmen, they came to see Srila Prabhupada when he was in Mayapur, and Prabhupada was talking to them. And then they said, "Swamiji, can you show us some magic?" And then he said that, so Srila Prabhupada told to those businessmen, "So I went to the America, with 40 rupees in my pocket. So, and today, with the dedication and love of all these disciples, we have temples worth maybe more than $400 million. So isn't that magic?" Then they all thought about it. All the businessmen, they said, "Yes, yes, that is certainly magic." So like that. So that magic happens when you have the empowerment. Like Prabhupada says, because he himself never praised himself, right? Even now he showed that my letterhead, he is just calling himself A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, not Prabhupada. But Prabhupada is the title given to him lovingly by his disciples. So like that. Okay. Anybody else would like to share anything from today's reading? Anything that you liked? No thoughts?
Yeah, that's a good magic, Prabhuji. The example what you have given. Everyone wants to liberate from this mortal world, but we always, we do all the service, chanting, everything. We follow the ABCD. formula, but sometimes we generally divert from our, other senses gratifications and other duties also. So, but constant this consciousness that we have to get out of this mortal world is very important. Sometimes we forget, so we should keep remembering that, better not to fall again this 8.4 million species birth death cycle. So that's what Srila Prabhupada is kept telling us. But this is good that we are attending these calls. Sometimes we miss it, but still that should be in our mind.
It's true. Yeah, we're reading about this 8.4 million species yesterday evening in the evening reading also. Yeah, so after a long struggle, we have got this. Of course, there are 400,000 species of humans, 8.4 million species, but like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, that Brahmanda Brahmita Kauna Bhagyavana Jeev, or not, sorry, that Bharat Bhumi te haila manushya janmayar, right? So getting human form of life is also very difficult, but also getting that in the Bharat Bhumi is even more difficult. So while we have got this, we should try to remember that. And again, that remembrance, like you said rightly, comes when we read our scriptures. Again, it's very simple. Prabhupada has given, like I shared that video last week in the book reading group, that Prabhupada says that we have to chant, and not just chant, but chant attentively. So that's why, again, we are just doing the simple endeavor to do our chanting in the morning, because that is the best time. Your mind is fresh. That is the best time. Like, if we think, yes, I have to do some bhakti, some seva, I have to remember Krishna, yes, that is good, but I will do it according to my own time, then that is not giving the most respect to Krishna that he deserves, right? The Lord should be the first and foremost in our life. So the first and foremost thing we do as soon as we wake up is we remember him. And the best way to remember is when we wake up early and chant, right? If we are doing other things while we are chanting, yes, we are certainly getting some credit, but the quality is not there, right? Like we are talking to somebody, we are on the phone, we are seeing phone, we are, kind of multitasking really, if you're doing it through the day, versus sitting down peacefully, calmly, with focus, attention, and chanting, right? And that chanting that we do in the morning is the best, because what we do that is with quality, and that attentive chanting has lot more potency. It's like concentrated. It's not diluted. Our attention is not diluted. So that is why the chanting, Prabhupada says, you chant. And when we come together in association of devotees, we sit and we read together and we discuss the scriptures, discuss the life and pastimes, the qualities, not just the Lord, but the devotees of the Lord, how they lived their lives. Because not everything we can learn in our own life by our own experiences, right? We have to learn from others' experiences. So sometimes we see there are so many mistakes that have been committed in the past by devotees. But again, those are like the Prabhuji, he was here, I'm forgetting the name. He was mentioning, right? Like they are all our Shiksha Gurus. All the people around the world, around us, are our Shiksha Gurus, because they're teaching us by their lives. So that should be our mode, that we have to learn from everybody's lives, from their activities. And if somebody has done something wrong, we don't have to criticize them, but we have to make that a learning in our life, that we should not commit that same mistake. So with that attitude, if we chant attentively, we read scriptures, we discuss in the association of devotees, and Prabhupada was saying in that video that, I'm very pleased if you read my books and you discuss together and you chant. And if Prabhupada is pleased, then he says Krishna will bless us. So and Prabhupada's words will come true, because he is a pure devotee of the Lord. If he says something, Krishna will put all his energies to make those words come true. So he's saying in that video that, I'm pleased when you chant attentively, when you read my books, you discuss, and Krishna will bless you. So he has given the blessing that Krishna will bless us, and what more do we want, right? So we just follow his instructions sincerely. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Vishwanath Prabhu, anything you'd like to share about Boston trip? The seva, I know he usually is doing his DT worship also at the same time. Okay, so if nothing else, then we will wrap up for today. Thank you so much. Hari Bol. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, जगत गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, शिला प्रभुपाद लीलामृत की जय, नीताई गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल, हरे कृष्णा.
Prabhuji, can you share that Jagannath Ashtakam link?
KK songs, we just go to KK songs, yes, but I put it in the chat, I thought.
Yeah, chat.
Yeah, I'll put it again.
Okay.
You got it?
In this chat, right? Okay.
Yes. Or I can send you in WhatsApp.
Yes, WhatsApp is good because sometimes
Okay.
it may miss it.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.